today I want to talk about a real secret weapon of practice. And it doesn't really involve playing the guitar at all. It's all upstairs. It's visualizing. A lot of people tend to think that when you're practicing guitar, it's time on the instrument. And yes, there is definitely a time and a place for just woodshedding on the instrument, particularly if it's like technical work. But there are a lot of times when you're going to feel like, say, you're hitting a wall or you're having trouble processing a concept, particularly, say, with improvising, or you might be having trouble memorizing chord changes or a long-form piece if you're a classical guitarist or if you're playing, a transcription of a solo. And this is where visualizing is just the way to go. So what I used to do, when I went to university, I studied classical guitar and jazz, and I played a lot of very big, long-form classical guitar pieces. The Bach Chaconne, a number of Bach sonatas, Rodrigo pieces, concertos, that kind of stuff. And I found that much of that repertoire and that kind of performance style was as much a mindset as it was having chops to back it. It's kind of similar. It's like the difference between, say, a regular soldier and a commando. It's not necessarily that a commando can do many more push-ups than a regular soldier, but their mental attitude is such that they can be given, a so-called suicide mission, and they can deal with the nerves and the pressure, and they can rehearse mentally. So the thing that I sort of found was it was far better when looking at certain issues, like maybe a technical issue or running through the recital program like that, to just put my guitar down, close my eyes, and go through every single detail of that performance slowly in my mind's eye. And then I would pick up the guitar and it would just be better. Because I'd realized that so much of the time we just expect our fingers to just do things. We talk vague we have these vague notions of like, oh, it's muscle memory or it's intuition. It's like, no. These fingers here are just foot soldiers or robots. And foot soldiers and robots aren't a lot of use if they don't have clear direction and good training. So it really pays to sort of slow things down, just sit down with your instrument, maybe study it a little bit, just looking at it, and then lay the instrument down just like this and really think about what it is that you want to work on. Do you have an issue that you just can't seem to get past? Physician, heal thyself, everyone's heard that. You really need to be the doctor that's going to diagnose the issue with the piece that you're playing, whether it's a technical issue or a memory issue, and then you need to come up with a solution, and then you need to actually see that through and be disciplined. And I think that what I've observed with high-level players, particularly in classical music, is that this is an element of what they do on a daily basis. And it really separates them from average musicians. So for example, you could be looking at improvising. Say you have an issue when it comes to playing over chords that change. It's a really common thing, and I had an issue with it when I was first presented with the concept of, oh wait, I can't just stay in E minor the whole time, I've got to move with the chords. So what I would suggest you do is what I would do in this situation. I would close my eyes and I would hear the chord progression. I'd hear the bass and the drums playing through the chord progression slowly at a tempo that I could talk through what was happening. Because even at a medium tempo, it's usually too fast to actually think about, let alone articulate what's happening. So let's say, for example, it's just a regular blues in the key of G. So I'd be thinking, I'd hear G, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3. If you can't follow the changes by yourself unassisted, then there's no way it's going to happen when you're in a band. It won't just magically, they won't just lift you up and enable you to play these changes. You have to be responsible for your own licks, your own lines, and your own technique. So I would go through that whole progression like that, and then I would work it up to the point where not only could I articulate what chord it was I was supposed to be playing and see it, I'd see like this shape or this shape, and I would go through all the shapes on the guitar so I could see G in all the 5 positions. But I would get to the point where I would say G, and then I would think about what the next chord is. Because when people really nail playing over changes, basically what that is it means that they know they're like 2 or 3 steps ahead of where they currently are. So in that context, I'd be thinking G, done G, thinking about C, 3, 4, gone to C. Okay, I've got 3 beats left. I'm thinking about going back to G. Okay, I've got 2 bars of G. Here is the last bar of G. I could put another chord in. I'm going to turn the G into an altered chord, and then I go to C. I'm going to put a C sharp diminished in the second bar, C sharp diminished. So I'm going to go back to G. So I'm constantly ahead. Pardon me. Then when you can do that, and you can speed it up to a tempo which is thinking like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, go, 2, and so forth, with whatever changes or subs you so choose to have. Then I would start thinking about the licks that I would want to play, and I would slow things down even more. And I would go through and I would just hear and see and feel in my mind's eye the line that I'm going to play. Let's say, for example, this is the lick, just a standard sort of 1 to 4 lick in the key of G. Like go. Hopefully I can remember that now. I would be thinking, okay, I'm going to slide on beat 4 and I can feel my index fingers right on that. It feels really secure and nice. So I slide up on the edge of my finger. My pinky is hovering over the 5th fret. So I'm thinking about technical things as well. So I don't like splatting notes. And I try and counteract and troubleshoot any potential splats by having my fingers prepared at least 2 notes before I need to use them. So up here, pinky is over the note I need to be at. I can feel my pick is poised, ready to do a sweep that's going to go across 3 strings. Then I have my middle finger prepared, my index finger, so I'm going up a 9th arpeggio. Then I've got my pinky is over the 5th fret here. This is the second half of the first bar. Ring finger. Then here we go to the 4 chord. Now I use that finger, but that's what I'm hearing in my head. Then ring finger on 4, pinky, poise ready, index. Now this seems kind of painful at that tempo, but if you can't do it at that speed, you can't do it at a faster tempo. It's just as simple as that. Like if you can't go through and clearly describe to yourself what it is that you want to do and articulate where you want to go, it won't just happen. Intuition is a wonderful thing, but a lot of what improvising is instant recall of pre-learnt material on a subconscious level, or maybe conscious as well, but often it's sort of a subconscious thing, particularly in higher tempos. So it isn't magic, it isn't like some divine intervention, it's just hard work. Like, when you watch a cooking show and someone goes, here's what I prepared earlier. Well, they actually came into the studio and they cooked that cake like 2 hours before the show aired so they could present a beautiful cake after having showed you how to put together the cake. But you just don't see that. It's impressive when there's the reveal. So you need to work on this stuff, and it does take time, and it is kind of boring, but it's the difference between being able to rock up to a gig and just slay people with amazing licks and great fluency, or kind of fumbling through things. It also works for technical stuff. If you're just going to play a scale up and down like this, I would talk through that same process of like, I can feel my middle finger on the 3rd fret, my ring finger, I can see it, it's ready to go, 5th fret, I've got an upstroke, I'm working on coordination between my fingers, index fingers poised, downstroke, middle fingers over the 3rd fret, upstroke, and when that finger goes down, that's when I pick, so I just get bang, bang, complete coordination at a slow tempo. All the while, I'm focusing on my breathing, keeping my mind relaxed and calm. Particularly at high tempos, this is really useful. If you're playing over a burner, particularly if it's in bluegrass, jazz, or country music, and you've got a sort of you have to kind of pull back a little bit and just think in, say, 4-bar phrases. So you're thinking, or even slower. And that keeps you mentally relaxed while these fingers are going around like, acting like crazy. but you've got this long form sort of idea of where it is you want to go and what you want to do with your line. So I really encourage you to just sit down and have a think about what it is that you want to play. It's no different to making a speech. You know, if you get asked to do a speech at someone's wedding, you could just wing it. Some people are naturally gifted when it comes to public speaking, or they had years of debating training. But for the average person, if they just get up and wing a speech at, you know, their brother's wedding, it's probably going to be average. It might waffle, it might meander, they might put words in when they think out aloud, like, and it's not that impressive. Whereas if you actually take the time a couple of days beforehand to jot down the points that you want to address, hell, even write the entire thing out, but at the very least jot down the points and give it a loose structure, then you're going to deliver at least an entertaining speech or a coherent speech. And on the guitar, we're storytellers. We're just non-verbal storytellers. And so if you don't invest that time at some stage to thinking about what it is you want to play, or looking at the sort of nanomechanics of how you actually articulate what you play, you won't be able to play as well. Just straight up, simple as that. There's no mystery. There's no magic bullet or secret elixir. It's just time on the instrument and sensible practice is the most important thing. And the really cool thing about this stuff is you don't have to be with your guitar. You know, 2.5 years ago I became a father and I thought, that's it, I'm not going to be doing much guitar practice. And I feel like I've made more progress since because I've just maximized every little bit of time I have. If I'm on the subway, that can be time that I'm thinking about licks or technical sort of stuff. When I lay in bed at night, I can learn a tune. So if I get booked to do a gig, a couple of weeks ago I got booked to play Bruce Springsteen's Born in the USA in its entirety. Now it's not like excruciating repertoire, but there's a lot of songs, and when I have to try and memorize an entire album and all the guitar parts in 4 days, that's where this visualizing thing is really useful. I'm washing the dishes, I'm going through Darlington County in my head, all the guitar parts. And I'm drying the dishes, I'm going through, you know, the guitar parts and the lyrics and everything for I'm on Fire, so forth. And then I actually pick up the guitar and, hey little girl, is your daddy home? What do you know? It works, because I've done that preparation before I hop on the instrument. I already know how to play an E major chord and an A major chord. But sitting there and doing that sort of the big architectural planning of where things are going to go and when, at what point, how long I have to hold an E for. And in Bruce songs, they're deceptively difficult because, you know, he'll hold a chord for like 2.5 bars or 3 bars and 1 beat, which you don't really question when you listen to the recording, but when you're going to learn it, like, whoa, that's... If you're a dude that's grown up playing like very structured music of like you got 8 bars, 12 bars, 16 bars, or 32 bars, and that's it, then when someone throws a 3.5 bar or 3.25 bar thing, man, that's confusing. So look, have a think about this stuff. I'd love to hear your comments on, you know, if there's anything that you guys are having trouble practicing, drop a comment below. Please subscribe, and I'll be doing some more tutorials on different approaches to practicing and how you can improve your playing without just shredding on the guitar. There's plenty of different things you can do. Take it easy, cats.